Love is communicated in food. Maybe that's a magic that we underestimate. It comes across when I talk to people at the restaurant, and it's as important as the nutrition in the food is the love that comes from offering it and cooking it. I always feel comfortable when I'm holding something.
But having a fruit makes it feel thematic. Alice, it's a pleasure to have you. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna chat until all the things melt away, and then we can just have a nice little hang. Okay, first question. What has been the response to your Chef's Table episode since it came out a couple months ago?
Well, it took me a little while to watch it because I was very nervous about what I said and what you would use. But I saw it. And then I was so happy to hear from everybody around the world. I heard from my friends in Australia, my friends in Italy, France, and England. And I just knew that you had made a film that really was important to them and the work that they're all doing. And I'm just so grateful.
Well, I'm so glad that you watched it. And I remember when you called me after having watched it, and 'cause the first thing you said is, "I watched the episode." And I was nervous because you are a very particular person. You are someone who has a very strong point of view, and you press that. You press your intentions, and you want it. You were, as you say in the episode, quite aptly, impossible is not a word in the French language. You always strive for that higher ideal, and you don't take no for an answer. And so I was hopeful that you would watch it, that you would like it, that you felt that we did you justice, because it's only maybe an hour almost, and there's so much to tell. And I really hope that the choices that we made in the where we focused were the right choices.
Well, they were the right choices. And to have Samin and Michael Pollan in there really made me feel good. And I had no idea that they were going to be in the film.
For our listeners, Alice, you are known as the originator in the United States of bringing this idea of farm to table, where the farmers have the relationship with the restaurant. We're putting the names of the farmers on the menu because they are the craftspeople. The ingredients are absolutely critical. And this is in an environment in a country where people were getting their vegetables from cans. They were processed and they were not delicious. And the idea, if you look at old cartoons and stuff, is that, ew, broccoli. It's like this idea. I was fortunate to have a mom who cooks, and she has worked on cookbooks. She works with Francis Mallman on his cookbooks.
Oh, yeah.
She has a book called Saladish that she did with Eileen Rosen, and she would make delicious broccoli that was nice and crunchy with French vinaigrette, with the wonderful Dijon mustard. And it's not hard to get kids to enjoy the food. Look, when they're 4, they're not going to want to eat anything because it's the only power that they have. And this is what I keep telling myself, is like, so going to be okay. He wants to eat French fries only, and at least they're French. Yeah. Well, I think that for all of us on the crew who have worked on the show now for 10 years and have always been such admirers of yours, it was like a love letter that we wanted to make for you as a legend, as your legendary legacy. And going back to, remember when we first started talking about doing the show? How did we get you when you'd never done a documentary before? Although it's so obvious that anybody would want to make an Alice Waters documentary. You have all the books, of course. And what happened? Why did you say yes?
Well, I said yes mainly because I knew that you knew my good friend Orville Schell. And I admire Orville, and I always seek his opinion. And when I knew you were a friend of Orville's, that opened the door. But because I have such a high standard about filmmaking from Tom Luddy, who runs the Telluride Film Festival and was my best friend for 50 years. And he really schooled me about film. And I, of course, named my daughter after the films of Pagnol. Marcel Pagnol, I named my restaurant after those films. So I am really connected with film in a big part in my life.
And you've spent so much time with legendary filmmakers
Oh,
at the restaurant. Who
yes.
would hang out at the restaurant? Who would hang out at Chez Panisse with you?
Filmmakers. Many, many. Right now, I'm going to the Telluride Film Festival and seeing everybody
Yeah.
again.
And Francis Ford Coppola comes to mind
Oh,
as
well,
a regular and
Francis,
became a dear and was
yes,
is a dear friend of
absolutely.
yours.
And his wife, Eleanor Coppola, and his daughter,
hmm Oh, and yeah, of course.
Sophia. They were very good friends because of Tom
Mhm.
and his connection with these people.
Right.
And once he brought them there, they came back on their own. And I have lived that with a huge admiration and almost an intimidation about filmmaking. And so if somebody wanted to make a film about me, I just felt self-conscious, even though I know that filmmaking is the best way to communicate a message, especially if you aren't a charismatic, important speaker on this planet. I mean, like Carla Petrini or somebody that is able to capture an audience. But film has this way because it's getting to people without their awareness.
Like it's sort of like the craft of it, all the elements can convey a message in an emotional way versus just an informational way.
Well, that's what I love about feeding people an idea. It's what I love about the restaurant. But I think film can do that with your other senses, with your eyes and your hearing. And you can almost smell some of those scenes and taste them. I always hold a piece of fruit because I feel like when they see that, they remember sometime that they ate that tangerine, some connection that they can make.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of my favorite moments is when Michael Pollan describes the fruit, just the piece of, a bowl of fruit on the
Yes.
table. And, when you present these things, and actually, being in the restaurant is the most sensory thing because you have the visuals and you've curated this beautiful space and the sound and the way the light works in the room with the reflections and everything. And then you present, something simple that is just about the essence of what that thing is versus making it about, oh, look at the craft that we did, look at all the things that we did to it. Just presenting that one thing, that orange or a bowl of oranges or a bowl of whichever the most, fruits that you're selecting from the market. It romanticizes it and and I think that's one of the things that contributed in and gifted the world with is this appreciation for simple things. I have our book, The Art of Simple Food, and it focuses on the ingredient, which I really, really love. Wolfgang Puck was here, and his whole thing is you find the best ingredients and you don't fox them up. And I think that you guys share an ethos, although a very different kind of style of communication. But I know you guys are friendly.
Yes.
Okay, so the orange comes, and what we're trying to do, and I think that people who will watch the show, know this, is that we're trying to take the same feeling that you're, the perspective that you have on that orange, and we want to show the point of view that you have that the person there might have when they can't, because our audience can't taste it, they can't smell it, but what they can do is they can feel it. And so you imbue it with life in the way that you talk about the vegetables, the way we see you interacting with the produce, and also with your chefs in the kitchen, seeing you taste things. We just absolutely love that. And so you are the perfect chef's table subject for that reason. And so I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, I was trained as a Montessori teacher in London in 1968. So I learned from that experience that our senses are the pathways into our minds. And that's why she created a pedagogy for the schools where children were always touching, smelling, tasting, listening very carefully. And I couldn't teach children very well, especially preschool children. But I knew that idea was going to be part of everything I did in my life. And when we opened the restaurant, I wanted it to look a certain way, to look like you were walking in someone's house. And I wanted the lighting to be good and candles on the table. And I wanted people to smell the food. And I wanted the door opened between the kitchen and the dining room. And I wanted a fireplace so the aroma could come out into the kitchen. And I thought about light in the room to the way the building faces the sunset in the afternoon was very important to me. And I'm a little worried right now because there's a vacant lot there, and if they build something, it will change the lighting. And so I think I have to buy that space.
I think you do. And I think any developer that tries to build there will be doing so at their own peril. Because Alice, despite your demure presentation, you are tough. You are tough.
If I believe in something, I am uncompromising. Maybe that is a better way of saying it. Not all being uncompromising is tough. Tough reminds me of sort of angry.
Right.
I'm much more trying to seduce people.
Oh, yeah.
With these ideas that I may be uncompromising about, but I'm ready to find that path, that whether it's bringing people into the kitchen to taste at the pastry table, whether it is giving something for a class of something for free because somebody was a little unhappy with something they ate. And I'm always trying to do that.
Yes.
Always.
Yes. I think that you see an idea, something that you're passionate about, starting out with, visiting France and seeing, wow, this is how the French eat. This is how the French live. I want people to feel that. You want people to experience that. And then with the other ideas about how do we communicate with people about the importance of food, about teaching their children not only how to eat, but how to cook and all these wonderful things. And in bringing people into it, Michael Pollan described the Alice Waters grip, which is where, whether it is a writer like himself or perhaps a president, you will take them by the arm and you will achieve their attention and get your idea across. And as the director of this show, I felt that also because I knew, we had all kinds of fun debates about whether a lamp is going to be in the shot. And these are more detailed kind of macro things that I've ever really had to debate with a guest before. But I really appreciated that because I could feel your energy and how much you care. Um, and so first off, I want to say thank you for your patience in letting us cook, so to speak,
Yes.
and giving us your home for days and your restaurant and your kitchen, letting us kind of commandeer things. What was that like for you?
Well, it was something I was a little nervous about.
What was it like having the chef's table crew in your restaurant?
Well, I talked to everybody before you arrived, and I just said, this is so important that we communicate the ideas of what we're doing. And we show that we're working in a very collaborative way. I mean, there is somebody who's the main chef, but that person is actually it's not just one person. I think I told you
Hmm.
in the movie
That's right.
that when I was pregnant with my daughter, I couldn't work 6 days a week as the main chef. And I had this idea that we would divide it in two, and I could work 3 days a week, and another chef would work three. Well, it was so successful that I decided to divide the job of pastry into and the cafe. So, in other words, people work 3 days, but they're paid for six. And so they have time to be with their families. They have time to go and eat in other restaurants, but they cover for each other. And the people who work with them have all these different points of view. And I watched this unfold at the tasting that happens every evening, both in the cafe and downstairs. But it's much more serious downstairs because there's only one menu, and people have to like that one menu,
That's right.
so they come back
Yeah. Yeah.
and they pay more for it.
Right.
So I want it to be very special. And I listened to the conversations. And sometimes one of the cooks said, last time when we made that, it was much better when we put the sauce in at the end and and stirred it into that soup. And everybody looks at and they agreed. And so we do it that way. And that's happening right before people are coming into the dining room.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I love that conversation. I'd love to have you come and film that way of learning. But I know also that it's very successful because it's teaching people really how to think about this piece of fruit, how to, if it's not completely ripe, how do we use it? Are we squeezing it for juice and adding that juice at the end of the sauce on a dessert or in a vinaigrette that's going on a salad that has fruit? So you're in process of learning. Mostly teaching cooking is about read this recipe and do it, and then we'll taste it. And this is the exact sort of opposite of that. You're bringing in the ingredients and you're examining them and tasting them before you do anything. And if they're not perfect, well, let's try it this way or let's go that way. And I always learn something when
Hmm.
I just come in the kitchen and
Yeah.
I I make a comment and but then we get into it.
Yeah.
And so it's really always a process for me, always interesting.
The least French thing that you've done at Chez Panisse is afford your chefs a work-life balance and any consideration of their mental health in the kitchen, which I hope is spreading there. But the French kitchen is quite brutal and it's this kind of brigade system. Um, you've helped set an example of how you can do the opposite of that.
Yes.
Yeah. And that kindness in the kitchen, it's not cool to be mean in the kitchen, I think. I think that's the whole
Well,
thing,
we
right?
have to value what the dishwasher is observing. Even coming back on plates, it's very valuable to tell you what's good and what people left
Right.
and what they how they lick their plates.
Oh, yeah, that's
But
interesting
but
too.
something very important that I didn't do at the beginning, and I wish I had planned for it, was to have windows in the dishwashing area. We put some in high up, but we couldn't because it was a small room off the kitchen. But I told my friend in London when she was building her kitchen that she should have a place for the staff to eat, a big table. They should be eating the same food that you serve to the customers. And there should be a window in the dishwashing area. The dishwasher needs to be able to go outside. All should, again, be eating the real food that
Right.
you're serving.
To
And
treat the kitchen staff as valued
I said,
human beings.
everybody, the people who work at night, to do the cleaning of the restaurant, they're all included in the big picture of Chez Panisse, and they should be able to eat the food that we're cooking and eat it in a nice environment. So I love it for downstairs chefs. They come and have a table in the office area and eat exactly the meal that the customers ate in between the two seatings,
Mhm.
and always are changing little things as need be. But that is something that should happen in every restaurant and have time to eat too. But I was delighted that it all came to pass in the making of the restaurant in London, and to see it at work. It's great. River Cafe.
River Cafe. I think one of the things that is so kind of wonderful about you is that you have such knowledge and experience, and yet your curiosity is endless. You always are curious, and you have a humility about, and I think this is something that was really people need to be more valued in American culture in particular, is that not knowing and wanting to know and being curious and asking questions is good, and there's nothing weak about asking questions or being curious, and I think that's like a big problem that we have, and I'm not going to get into all that right now.
Well,
But
it should be learned in
things
school.
should be learned in school.
And
The process of asking questions, of it being okay, because the problem is that one of the things in schools, there are two things. Since you have the ear of teachers, and there are going to be a lot of educators listening to this, um, I think that there are a couple things, they seem harmless, but they set up kids to be hard on themselves. And that toughness on themselves, then that unfolds as they get older into, not healthy habits.
I totally agree.
And the first one is, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yes.
I think is a terrible is a terrible question, because it locks kids. It
Yeah,
makes kids think about, well, what I am not adequate as I have to be something, rather than just
exactly.
exist, just being who you are, or just being, period. You have to be something, and you have to do. And then the other one that drives me nuts is just scoring tests. And I think that this thing where it's like, if you don't know the answer in the moment that it is being demanded of you,
Yes.
then your score goes down and you're punished. You're punished for not knowing a thing. And that creates a real anxiety. Does that track with you?
Absolutely, it does. And it just reminded me of an experience I had in school because I had gone to school in Michigan City, Indiana, and it was a basketball school focus, and I didn't learn very much, but I got good
A
grades.
basketball-focused school?
I mean, all the
So
kids.
a strong physics program,
Yes,
you mean?
yes.
Got it, okay.
And I was transferred out to California, to Southern California, and I was going to my senior year at
Mhm,
Van Nuys High School.
mhm.
And they put me, because I got good grades back in that basketball school, into advanced placement classes. And we were all asked to write an essay the first day. And I wrote my essay about water skiing. And the teacher asked me to read it out loud. And I was so self-conscious, and I could hardly read it. And this really bright kid in front of me said, "What are you talking about?" And I just almost cried that I didn't I didn't ever realize what I was doing and what it meant to be in that really advanced class of the school. So I made it my mission to fall in love with that guy.
Or to make him fall in love to make
Make
him
him
fall
fall in love with
in love
me.
with you, and, yeah, I mean, I think that's
And
but
I
that
was pretty successful. Even sending books to Kenya, and I gathered more books than anybody else.
well, I think that also, so those bully the in school, some of that dynamic is like, he may have a crush on you and is trying to get your attention. They call it negging, I think.
Well,
He's gonna
well,
neg you to be like, and then get a laugh, and then you feel like, oh, insecure, and then it's like, ooh, who's this? I'm gonna
but
win this guy.
but I think it was all part of my really wanting to know about education and
Mm,
why I ended up at Montessori training in London in
yeah.
1968.
And for our listeners, and that you explained a little bit, Montessori training, it's an alternate kind of model of education that
Yes.
involves experiential learning and not so much this thing where it's like a curriculum with a set number of facts that you need to learn and grades and all of that.
No,
It's like a
it's
progressive kind
really
of schooling.
based on her understanding
Her
that
being the Miss, I'm sorry,
the
what's your name?
first woman doctor in Italy
Right.
in the 1880s.
Got it.
And she wanted to know why children who lived in poverty and hunger could not learn like other children.
Mhm.
And she discovered that our senses were the pathways into our minds,
Right.
and that by smelling and tasting and listening carefully and seeing, that they could experience another world uh, that was different from the homelessness of their life, or that they could have this way of learning
Yes.
that really was
Yeah.
connecting to
Yeah.
them.
Engaging their hearts just
Yes,
beyond,
yes,
the rote
absolutely.
memorization of
And I
traditional learning.
loved that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
And I really, people ask me, because we had to learn handwriting, chancery cursive. And I learned that, and I learned all the trees in Hampstead Heath, and all of those things that are, just helped me appreciate nature and helped me appreciate what I could actually do. That I had no idea that I could learn handwriting, beautiful handwriting that um, would appeal to David Coynes, the designer
Mhm. Mhm.
and artist. And I it changed my life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to start an edible schoolyard project at a
Right.
middle school in Berkeley.
Right.
When the principal called me and asked me whether I would help him, he thought I was going to beautify his school with a garden. And I went over and I took one look at his middle school, and it was built in 1921 on 17 acres of land.
Mm.
Many of the pieces of land have been taken away or abandoned, like the vacant lot that was there was just had junk in it, and it had a lot of portable buildings and a whole lot of blacktop. And I looked around the school and I said, "Oh, I see a garden classroom over there, and maybe we could make one of these portable buildings into a kitchen classroom. And out there in the middle of the flat top, we'll build a cafeteria that can seat all the students." And I just had this fantasy about,
Mhm.
or I thought it was a fantasy, until the principal said, "Well, I'll get back to you." And he did.
And he did. And that's and you get to see the results of this in your Chef's Table episode, and we get to
Yes.
witness a class that became a model for education in terms of teaching kids how to cook and how to eat.
But it wasn't about that.
Ah,
It was about teaching them a geography class that may have been in the Middle East, and you're using cooking as a way to teach about the geography of that place.
right,
And maybe it's the Middle East, so you're making hummus and pita bread,
right,
and you are learning through your senses, so you're never forgetting that
right.
when
Because
your test
right.
comes.
So then, if the test does come around, because they will have to take tests and things,
Yes,
that's just a fact of
and
life.
they
That by combining the information with the senses, that's how you remember it.
that's
I
exactly
had a
right.
Japanese teacher who he told us on the first day of class, he said, "You'll never forget this class," because he put a thumb of freesia on every buddy's pop quiz or whatever the
Yeah,
first thing on the first sheet of the thing, and I didn't forget it.
that's right.
And I thought that was a really powerful thing. And then I went and made a Japanese documentary years later, and now we know each other as the path of that unfolded, which is so interesting. Now, I want to ask a couple of fun things. Tell me a little bit, because this is something, there are a lot of things in the documentary. People
Mhm.
need to watch this documentary. Chef's Table Legends, Alice Waters, Netflix, Netflix.com. Um, Dial into your internet provider and go to Netflix.com and watch Chef's Table Legends Alice Waters. Now, some of the things that I couldn't quite fit into. There's so many things, so many great stories that I couldn't fit in, and so I'm going to kind of now
Okay.
mine your memories here.
Uh-oh.
Tell me about a dinner with. What was it like to eat at the restaurant with Francis Ford Coppola? Can you give me like one funny moment or anecdote or anything about some of these moments where you had these notable people in the restaurant?
Francis loves to eat, loves it. So practically everything that you put in front of him, he wants to taste. And that's so great. And he was married to someone who had a wonderful garden and loved to cook.
Mm.
And it was so great for everybody else in the restaurant to see him there. But the whole family became very good friends of mine. And again, that Tom Luddy made that connection for me with them. And we always went to their wonderful house up in Napa Valley. And so when his daughter started making wine, we loved the wine. And it's just been a long relationship
Hmm.
with him.
Yeah. His wine company, has become kind of ubiquitous as well. Um, the Coppola wines, and then they have the little rosés
Yes.
for
I
Sophia.
wish we had
Fun little
that
thing. Yeah, I
glass
wish we
right
did
now.
too. I mean, look, it's afternoon somewhere. It's an international show. I wonder, yeah, that sensory experience that he had with you may have led him to, or helped him make that decision to go ahead and open up his winery and kind of do something like that. Did he drink a lot of wine at the restaurant?
Oh, we did drink. uh, but he always appreciated what his children were doing. And and I I feel like he was immersed in the art of his wife's passion and his daughter, her her focus on food, and what can I say? He always loved to come to the restaurant.
Yeah.
The whole
Tell me about, like, the party scene.
the party
Yeah,
scene,
it was a party there. We know this. So what's the vibe? How long were the
music,
meals? You got music going?
music, live music,
How long are the meals? Wait, there's music, and what else? What was the other thing you said?
music, always music.
So you got music, the wine's flowing.
The wine's
How
flowing.
long is the meal?
Endless. It feels like it is. I mean, when we celebrate for New Year's, or we celebrate the birthday of the restaurant every year in the cafe, and it's just, it begins outside with music out front of the restaurants, so people hear it coming by, and it's the Baguette Quartet.
The Baguette Quartet?
Yes,
What's that?
that's a group of musicians that live nearby.
But the music. So you're saying that the neighborhood musicians would come and
Yes.
play as the Baguette Quartet?
No, they would be the Baguette Quartet.
They are the Baguette
They
Quartet.
are the Baguette Quartet.
And they would play music live.
But we used to get from Les Blanc, he had the Louisiana Playboys and people from the South that were part of his films always. And so when we had a showing of his film way back when, we bring up the Louisiana Playboys and we'd all be dancing upstairs. No, it's it's always been a little wild after 10 o'clock. This was the 70s.
This was the 70s. Go on.
No,
What makes it 70s? What makes it
about
different?
the 60s made it the 70s.
The 60s made it the
Yeah,
70s.
and the 60s, I miss the 60s because the 60s was, you wanted to know everybody. You wanted to embrace everybody. They were all part of the movement to make change, to stop the war in Vietnam, to embrace diversity, to get free speech. And we did it by gathering at the University of California. And it was really powerful
Yes.
to hear Mario Savio speak. I mean, I've said this over and over, but he said, go and take a year off and go to another country. And of course, I went to France, and the rest is
The
history.
rest is history.
But I went to France with that ideas of, I wanted to know everybody. I wanted to meet the people in the street. I asked questions. I hitchhiked with my friend, and the people who picked us up showed us where we should go and have dinner and took us out to Brittany. And it was so important to my understanding of the whole culture of France. I mean, students could go to concerts for free, museums for free, and drink wine when you were 10, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, like broke from the whole kind of repressive kind of
Yes.
rigidity of the United States, especially under that kind of conservative vibe. And so there's like this big backlash. People don't want to be told what to do or what kind of box and how they should be, how their hair should be cut, who they can, be in a relationship
Yes,
with, who can
exactly.
are you allowed to have sex without this
Yes.
ritual or ceremony? You have to be locked down forever in the thing. And so I think that is it's really exciting, I imagine, to like kind of be there in that moment and be like, wait a minute, you don't have to do what they tell you.
And the people who were telling you what to do were so wrong about Vietnam,
Yeah.
about that war. I mean, that's one of the greatest films that ever been made was Francis Coppola's
Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now.
That's right. Yeah. And
And
the absurdity of it, that the ones taking the moral high ground, the especially like, and that's something that's happened unfortunately a while with like Christian fundamentalism, is that it's like, it's immoral for you to do this and that, but we're gonna go burn a village, I mean, it's just like the whole thing is just so hypocritical that if you really look at it, I mean, how does it make you feel? Was there a moment when you were like, wait a minute, this is kind of bullshit? Like, is it when you were at school and listening to him talk? Was he kind of like Mario was waking people up?
It was right at the free speech room. I mean, I knew before, but I've really felt it in that thousands of people in that space. And to feel the honesty of Mario Savio's words. He always spoke so beautifully about what we could do, about how we could teach. And he said, don't take classes from anybody who's not part of the free speech movement. So I took Beethoven symphonies, and astronomy, and medieval English literature.
All things that really help with the career right out of school.
Yes.
All these necessary, yeah.
And film too.
And film, yeah.
And that to meet the artists that were living in Berkeley at that time, I felt so lucky to know David Goines. When the beginning of the restaurant, he did the posters. He calligraphed the menus for us. It was so beautiful, and people responded to that.
Oh, yeah, because they could feel the love and they could see this. They could see it. It's just different from going to a restaurant and there's like a printed, very regimented menu or something like that. And now we get to have, it feels like art. It feels inspired. Did you feel like growing up, because I certainly have felt this, there was a lot of kind of anxiety that cause me to act out in school, and maybe I do have ADD, but I think that I was quite anxious in school, but it was always framed that there was something wrong with me and I needed to be medicated and I needed to be treated and kind of rehabilitated so I could function, versus just like being myself as a kid. Did you feel like, or were you told that there was something wrong with you, and did you believe it, and how did you overcome that?
That's a really provocative question. I guess my family wasn't religious. We had to go to Sunday school. I didn't like doing that, but it wasn't, repressive. I think the greatest thing that my father wanted a boy and not a girl. And so...
And you were three girls. He had three
we
girls.
We were four girls,
girls,
and I was the second one, my older sister, and then two younger ones.
And he didn't hide his disappointment in that.
I kind of liked what he wanted me to do, like go fishing with him, or climb a tree.
Okay, okay, good.
That kind of stuff. Even though my father was very, what would I like to say about him?
Well,
he wasn't communicative.
Okay.
As
Not
a
verbally,
father.
yeah.
And neither of my parents really were. I mean, we all had to sit around the table and we talked to each other. But my older sister was 4 years older, so she was getting out of high school when I was going in. And I've got these two younger sisters, 4 years younger. And so there was something, ultimately, my father was a huge help to me, because he was a sort of psychologist for the Prudential Insurance Company, but he was on the side of the workers. So he was trying to get the workers to behave, that kind of thing.
So he would try to help them help themselves.
Help themselves and be okay for the management.
Wow.
And so ultimately he moved to Chicago, and we all moved, and then he moved to Southern California. But he was fired
Well,
when
yeah, he
he
was
was in
punished
his in
for
his
help. He was
50s.
helping people
Yeah.
make their claims,
Yes.
and then the model of the insurance company is to do the opposite
You
of that.
either do this or
And
you
yeah,
leave.
and for some of our younger listeners, this is actually what happens to the main character in the movie The Incredibles.
Hmm.
The dad in The Incredibles is fired because he is helping people
Yes.
fill the paperwork
Exactly.
out in the way that will get the result that they want.
Exactly.
So he's kind of like a hero in this era, I feel like,
Well,
where
he was
and he
when he,
let you do boyish things. I'm putting quotes for the listeners
yeah.
because I think it's funny that like certain activities are labeled as a boy activity or a girl activity,
Yeah.
and but I think that you were allowed to do the fun things that you wanted to. And I remember you describe yourself in your book as a tomboy, as somebody,
Yeah.
and which is also a funny term, but you were you felt free. He was let you be
Yeah.
yourself.
He did. And when he came to California, he was asked by a friend at the University of California to join the sort of psychology department, and he moved up there. And ultimately, I moved to Berkeley too. And it was so great because when I started the restaurant, or I wanted to open a restaurant, he said, well, we'll market your house so that you can have some money
That's so
to
kind.
buy it. But he wanted to have us have these meetings with everybody who worked there. And I said, Dad, nobody wants one of these meetings where we touchy-feely talking about whether you like your work or you don't. And he said, we'll call them the ops meeting. And I think you're going to really appreciate this, and we'll make it fun for people. But we want somebody from every department, from the dishwashing, from the cleanup after at night, from upstairs in the cafe, from downstairs. Everybody should meet and talk about their work
Wow.
and about their pay.
Yeah.
And he was the one who ultimately talked about how tipping should be added on to the bill and not be at the whim of the customer
Right.
or not at all. And he got people paid properly.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he found Bob Kennard, who was the farmer.
Right.
He
Right.
he said, "You're having such a hard time finding the food you want.
Yeah.
We're going to go around to all the farmers
Mm-hmm.
that are within 1 hour of Chez Panisse
Mm-hmm.
or so,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to see whether they will deliver the food to you."
Yeah.
So we ultimately decided on Bob Kennard.
Yeah. And again, as we say, the rest is
The
history.
rest is history.
And so now,
I've been involved with it in terms of public education and feeding children. I know that taste is the key.
yes, it has to
And
taste
so
good.
it doesn't matter what it is. It could be an apple. And if it's cut and it tastes good, they want a whole apple. And what I've discovered is that they have never been given that. They may be given a whole apple, but nobody tasted it if it's too tart, or nobody cut it for
Mm,
them. But something, just peeling this and putting the pieces on a dish can bring their hand to the dish, to the piece.
mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take much. And I've written a book about this, and it's called The School Lunch Revolution. It's coming out this fall.
Oh, fantastic.
But it's with foods that fit into the USDA reimbursement for a school lunch, and they come from around the world. We all know the kids love to dip in hummus and pita bread. And these are things that are very affordable. And a soup that's got some garlic in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we knew all the things that our children love to eat and
Mhm.
other children. And that's what the book's about. But this isn't rocket science. It is absolutely eating in harmony with the weather, with the seasons. And to do this, to think that it's pulling down carbon and putting it into the ground where it belongs when you grow food organically and regeneratively is a kind of miracle and the solution to climate.
Mm.
And I just think that nobody knows the mystery of food globally that has been the way that we've understood it since the beginning of time.
Mm.
To connect to that, it's almost like we have genes that are saying, hey, I love that.
Yeah.
And please, can I have it again?
Yeah, to embrace the system as it existed naturally
Yes.
versus dominating it
Yeah.
and conforming it
And
to
shipping food around the
right,
world.
right,
And
right.
I mean, we never have done that until the 50s.
Mhm.
And when you do that, it's being picked in that country when it's not ripe.
Well, right, because then it become when
And
food becomes a profit
that's
thing,
right.
and I mean, Michael Pollan explains that
Uh,
so
it's
brilliantly
so
in
beautiful.
Food Inc. Um, and we have him kind of give a brief kind of help us understand that a bit. But there are certain things that should not that are not necessarily right for mass profit, unfortunately. And I think that
Food, all
food,
food.
medicine,
Yeah.
education,
Yeah.
there are certain things that are not meant to be so capitalist.
Well,
And I think that people who do good work should earn a good living, obviously. But I think that it's like the idea where you have to maximize
but
and you have to grow your profit every single time leads to systems that are very unnatural. And the people who eat it are the ones who suffer.
but we have never had respect the way other countries do for
Mm,
teachers and
yes,
food
right.
and children, I'd like to say. And
Respect for children is right.
Yes,
Yeah,
none.
right.
And when you go to another country, those people are up on the stage. Those are the ones who help make decisions about the world.
Mm,
And artists, I want to put them in that category too, because the the beauty of other places on this planet are sort of breathtaking because of the respect for artists, and not just to design churches, but respect for them to design everything
hmm Right, right. So then people can live
with beauty
with
in their
beauty,
life.
yeah, and not brutalism,
Yeah.
which is
Now
so
there
aptly
is
named, right?
really, exactly, told what to see something. I mean, nature is still our beautiful mother, but she is not present in so many cities
Yeah,
and towns around this country.
yeah.
And I just crossed the country from Iowa, where I was at Seed Savers for their 50th anniversary, where we used to buy seeds even 50 years ago. Bob
Mm,
Kennard bought seeds from them.
mhm,
But to see that land in Iowa, how beautiful it was, and then to fly over that just sort of desperate looking farm, so called farmland corn from Iowa to California. I mean, it was so shocking to
mhm,
me.
mhm.
And to think of the biodiversity that allows every plant to thrive.
Mm,
And I learned so much about that from
mhm.
Bob Kennard and his son Ross,
Yeah.
and learn what weeds are edible. I just found out all about those in Seed Savers,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm planting a whole garden of nettles as soon as
Ah, yes.
I get the seeds.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, we cook nettles at Chez,
Yeah, yeah.
but I've never really understood the medicinal miracles of
Right.
nettles
Oh,
until I went to Seed Savers and heard somebody talk about it. But it's so much information we don't know that's so good for our health.
mhm.
And I feel very lucky to have eaten this food always since I learned about it. I mean, I was forced to eat it by my mother, brown bread, pepper charm, and learn about wheat germ. But she always wanted us to have fruit and not sweets. Of
Right.
course, I went to the sweet shops with my friends
Oh,
after
yeah.
school, but but I had something from my youth, and my parents had a victory garden
That's
their
right.
whole lives.
Yes.
And the garden, I I can taste strawberries and the tomatoes.
Mhm.
Nothing like that in California.
Yeah.
Humidity of New Jersey.
Yeah.
But to appreciate what grows everywhere. And that when I went to Paris and had fraises de bois that came from the woods, those wild
Yeah,
strawberry,
those
I
cute
wanted
little
to
those cute
plant
little
them as
strawberries.
soon as I came home.
Yeah,
And I found out, of course, they're wild,
they
and
are.
you have to go up in the woods in the fall,
That's right.
and so I
They
went up
can't be tamed, these strawberries.
no,
It's
and
so interesting, right?
so I went up in the woods in Telluride, Colorado, when I went to the film festival, and we found wild mushrooms, but we also found a few wild
Oh,
strawberries
wow.
and blackberries, and I just that experience for children is something that they will never forget their
Yeah.
whole lives.
I think people can learn from you and your example to regard the world with curiosity, to look at the world with wonder and the beauty that is naturally around you, and to ask questions and to be okay to ask questions and to not get sucked into the dogma of that things are the way that they are because they have always been this way
That's right.
and that's the only way. And incrementally, there is a better way that can be introduced if we approach it with an attitude of let's try to do something
The
versus let's do the thing that's hard, and it's a little more difficult, but it's easy for me to give my kids a box of macaroni and cheese.
well, I'm looking right over there, and I'm wondering if those on that olive tree are real. Are
Of course.
those edible?
Yeah, I just had one.
Yes. They're getting ripe.
They are. No, they are
Not
ready.
quite
They're ready.
ready.
They're ripe,
The ripe.
and we're actually going to 3D print some more for you
Okay,
later.
well, I want to taste one.
Um, the
But
yeah.
I was just going to say that there is a school that I've witnessed over the last 25 years or so over in Marin County. And it was just a woman who it called her program the Conscious Kitchen.
Mm,
And she said, well, to the principal of the school, let's make a lunchroom in the gymnasium. Let's bring in tables and chairs and let's put up pictures of food and let's start buying milk from Strauss Dairy, the organic milk creamery, and bring it in a big container and pour glasses of milk to the table. And the parents go to the farmer's market and bring food for the kitchen. And it actually happened and it works. And I mean, it took the initiative of that woman with a group of friends. I mean, it's like me and the Edible Schoolyard Project at Martin Luther King School. It hasn't been something that's fortunately been closed down because everything is inspected and it's not being done in the way that the rules say it has to be done. But I questioned the rules for the kitchen when I set up the kitchen for Chez Panisse because I wasn't going to paint the walls white. And I read the rules, and it didn't say white, it said light colored. But the industrial world paints it white, and I painted it pale yellow, mustard color. And it said that you can't have, you need to have a door to the kitchen that's closed. And I took off that door, and when the health inspector came, he said, I've never been to such a clean kitchen. And he didn't even notice that the door wasn't there.
That's so interesting. I wonder why that rule is, because the
Because
kitchen could contaminate they're
no,
eating the
that the
stuff from there.
customers could contaminate, the children could contaminate the kitchen, dirty hands. You got to wash your hands before you
Or
start
it's like,
cooking.
is or is it that the restaurants want to not let the customer see what's actually going on in there,
There's that
and make
too.
it the rule that everybody has to have a door?
You're exactly
Because
right.
I want a door. Okay, what is your advice? Let's say that you're an alien visiting Earth and you're witnessing the situation here, and what are you seeing, and what would your quick kind of points of advice be before you open a portal and get the hell out of here?
Oh, goodness.
What is your advice to the world?
Take care of nature. Nature is our mother. She feeds us, and we need to really treasure everything that can be grown naturally, and not just for ourselves and our health, but for the beauty of it all. I mean, as you said about sunsets and stars in the sky, the moon cycles, and I'm just fascinated by them. And to think that the smog from the city is obliterating that view, and the smoke from the cars, the trucks, and we just have to stop. And I'm afraid that nature is going to cause us to.
I think that that's the thing that makes us live instead of just survive.
Exactly.
These are the things, the beauty around, when you talk about the beauty around us, I think that's the thing that makes us human, is the idea we live, and instead of just surviving and toiling until, the inevitable. Tell me about that feeling.
I always think about meaningful work, and as something I must have in my life. And meaningful work means loving really all aspects, the place that you work, the people that you work with, that you're inspired by them in terms of conversations. You make long-term friendships with them. And to think that we have just factories where people don't even meet the people that they're working with, and they're in traffic all day to get there and get home. I can't imagine a life like that. And the Surgeon General, he said that he thinks loneliness is the most serious health issue that we have.
That's right.
And I think it's meaningless work, but they go together. They really go together.
Tell me more. I like this idea of tell me about the lonely, because I don't want to, they have to make meaning for themselves, because it's all that they don't have a choice in the matter, or they don't
Well,
feel like they have a
they
choice.
drive to work by themselves. They're in traffic the whole way. They get to work, and you're in competition at work half the time, or you're working by yourself.
In a cubicle,
You're eating out of a
separate.
vending machine.
Yeah.
At the best of it, and there's no sitting together. And then you go home, 2 hours of traffic, and your kids are probably had dinner before, and it's something that I can't imagine. It doesn't make you very unhappy.
It's tragic for
It's
that
tragic.
that we've that humans have kind of set that as a standard
Yes.
of organization.
And that listening to all of the indoctrination on the radio
To
and
rationalize why it is
why.
that way,
Yes.
and to come up with someone to blame for
Yes.
why you don't feel good.
Yes, you're not being paid enough. You're not, these things. I don't care, in a way. I've never cared about money. I care so much more about meaningful work. I need money,
Yeah.
but I that's not why I work.
Yes.
I'm happy to do something that connects me, that's meaningful in a big way.
Yeah.
And I can't think of more meaningful work than growing foods that children at schools eat.
Yeah.
And so I feel it's a way, to bring back our democracy,
Yeah.
to even share that food at lunchtime as
Yeah.
a farmer
Yeah.
with the students.
Yeah.
Just like we used to bring Bob Kennard down to talk with everybody at the restaurant. This is that person.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
Masamoto and his
Yeah.
speeches, because they need to have the respect of the people who love what they do.
Mhm. So I have an idea that kind of just came up. And immediately when you were describing the people in their cars going on the little narrow I mean, if you look at it, it kind of becomes more of a almost like looking at just like, ants and stuff,
Yes.
the idea that, you have to just follow this kind of set path. It makes me think of that Beatles animated movie, Yellow Submarine,
Well,
especially and that might
I love
resonate with
that.
you. Eleanor Rigby, all the lonely people, like what do they come from? What are they doing? And
Yes.
the Beatles are in the submarine, they're witnessing this town, like what is going on here? And they're all so lonely, and then they have images of the graveyard, and it's just like, you just march to your death and it's inevitable. And the idea of adding, a dash of color and life and how that can change someone. I wonder if not only should there be this idea where, of course, we have to do it when they're kids, but for the people who are adults in some of these industrial working places or factories, or even in China where they're making, they live in the factory, even in some cases, maybe there could be some kind of food program for them, a garden program for
Of course.
them, where just like having a taste of something meaningful could help change them, and then it would make them just be a little bit more mindful. The thing I fear is that then if they do that, then it'll make them ask a whole lot of other questions, which is
Of
why they don't
course.
like to do those, which is why the authorities don't like to do those things. But I wonder if there is something where there could be something for people who work in offices in places where there are kind of these, unfortunately, there are these like food deserts where it's hard to get local stuff.
Well, I've seen farmers markets in Italy.
Yeah.
They're right across the street from a factory.
Yeah, we should
And
have
the
that here.
people walk across. They might buy things to take home, or they might eat them right there and have lunch. And I know it's possible, absolutely possible
Yeah.
to do. But the indoctrination from the industrial system is so strong. It's too expensive. It's
Yeah, it's
not,
too
you
expensive,
know,
and then they have all the fast
and
food
it takes,
commercials on the
yes,
TV.
exactly. And so that's why I want to go to kindergarten and go all the way through. I want to begin in the public school
And
system.
have that way when the kids grow up, they are gonna demand
Exactly. They
something
are.
better,
Well, even the
and then the system
farmers,
will change
that's
for
why
them.
I call it community supported
Yeah.
agriculture. And I want people to feel like, this is for them. And that movement has moved across the country. And I can't believe how quickly it's
Mm,
happened in the last 15 years.
yeah.
We started that market in San Francisco, and it supported so many farmers and gave food to so many people and inspired so many other farmers markets around the whole
Yeah.
area.
So the idea becomes contagious.
That's right.
And
And in
so, you know,
school,
it
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 will.
it it takes time and persistence.
But it doesn't take too much time. It just takes a growing season to to replant differently and to
Yeah.
know that you're going to be paid a bigger salary
Right.
and
And an
that
incentive.
these
Yeah.
students are going to eat your delicious food. And I know that this can happen because it's happened in schools
Yeah.
around the world.
And this is the importance of storytelling.
Yes.
We have so there because they say that there's not enough money. There is so much money subsidizing corn for to make sugar out of corn. The money is there, and that the money could be redirected and used more effectively to create a healthier society. And I think we're talking about, you know, the climate change thing that can be helped with a more modern kind of better way of doing this farming. The food, of course, tastes better, and then you have a healthier population, and that lowers your costs of healthcare and all these things that could be changed with the right kind of like willpower and the willingness to believe in it. And the story, I think, is what moves people. And that's the whole thing about human civilization is that we're unified by Homo sapiens are able to be unified by the abstract, an idea that can exist and that can be spread. And a good story it is a little harder and more nuanced to tell than the scary story, you know, which is what
But
is
that's
easier.
why things need to be on film
Yeah.
and either in person to see it
Yeah.
because people are distorting the facts, the prices, everything
Hmm.
around food, that this is nutritious and
Yeah.
it's not. And who's countering that? It's not good for people. And they say it is.
Yeah.
Having a garden in a school and having it the food used in the classroom of a school for the benefit of academics can really wake children up in a beautiful way.
And then they carry that through their
They
lives.
carry that always. They go home and they get their parents to plant a garden. That's what's happened. And over 30 years of the Edible Schoolyard, it's amazing how it continues to grow. I mean, literally by leaps and bounds all around the world.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's great.
I didn't do anything except I want
Set
my
the example
child
and
to.
you didn't give up and you didn't give up.
I didn't give up.
You didn't give up.
No.
Oh yeah, just want to say one thing. Just tell me about your granddaughter. How's she doing? How's Fanny and your granddaughter doing?
My granddaughter is just the model of everything that I believe in. She loves food. She loves to be outside. She'll eat anything. Her parents cook her all the good stuff. But it seems that this next generation is waking up and caring about what their kids are eating. My daughter makes lunch that probably takes her a good half hour every morning because she wants her to have this beautiful lunch at school. And it's not that she couldn't eat some other lunch there, but she looks at her lunchbox when it comes home and it's empty.
Yeah.
She said all her friends wanted to eat it too. But it is something that if you feed your child at a young age, that they will have it for their lives. And I mean, Fanny had an abundance in her childhood,
Yeah. And then
but
she's passed that on.
but
And the
she
other thing is the kids feel the love of the parent in the food.
they do. I was
They
going
feel
to
that the
say
parents
that
care.
they
Yeah.
do, and Fanny's both parents cook, and I mean Cecily's parents cook, and they it is communicated. Love is communicated in food. And I think maybe that's a magic that we underestimate. I know that it comes across at the restaurant, um, they're feeling something when I talk to people after they eat there. And I know it's not just hospitality, and I know it's not, you know, all the food isn't absolutely. We do serve desserts, some sugary thing,
It helps the
but
medicine go down.
but it's something else. You're exactly right, and it's as important as the nutrition in the food is the love that comes from offering it and cooking it.
Wow, that's beautiful. I think we'll just wrap it up right there.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Hey,
The story continues.
The
We keep on
story
going, getting it out
continue.
there in every format possible.
Ah,
Oh, you know what? One other thing. Hold on. One other thing I want to do. I completely forgot about this. I'd like you to actually, if you could sign my books.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alice. You're lovely.